So I was really just hoping to take a few moments with you we were coming up to COP27, and we've known each other now for a year and a bit from before COP26 and the Green Horizons Summit work I was doing in the City of London. And I was just really interested to sort of find out how you feel we are on this climate journey. You've just come back from Africa. Would you like to maybe just tell us a little bit about how you felt coming out of that? Are you inspired, or are you feeling like there's a lot more still to be done?
There's a huge amount to be done. But the direction of travel seems to be improving. What the UN Climate Convention has been doing in the run-up to COP27 is organise regional meetings. Now Gabon hosted Africa Climate Week, but there were delegations from most of Africa. Africa, 54 countries, is a big voice on the international stage.
But with COP27 being the Africa COP,
exactly, yes.
I feel like there is a focus on it.
I think Africa is getting organised as a continent, and that's very exciting to see.
Yeah.
What I was hearing from the African delegates is that, as well as wanting the world to recognise that they're going to be suffering, and that the wealth of the developed world needs to support the developing world to get through this crisis, because that would be just. And climate justice is very much on the agenda. But what increasingly is being heard is Africa's awareness of the importance of their ecosystems. The rainforests, the savannas, the seagrass meadows off the coast are part of the climate solution.
Which is so exciting, right?
Instead of poor countries saying, oh, give us your money, we haven't got any, they're saying, hey, we're providing a service to you, we want a commercial transaction.
And that's what really excited me. So when I came across the concept of Rebalance Earth and what you, Ralph and Walid are doing, that there is this other way of looking at things.
It's been there all along, but we haven't recognised it, and we haven't realised the damage that some of our activities are doing to the services that those ecosystems provide. And that's particularly the role of animals. And this idea that actually we're not going to solve the climate crisis without solving the biodiversity crisis. And everywhere I hear people talking about climate. How often do you hear people talking about the importance of nature? Well, it's beginning to happen. And the Rebalance Earth model provides a mechanism to not just say the whole ecosystem is important, how do we pay for it, but to recognise that ecosystem's health depends on keystone species. And forest elephants in the Congo Basin rainforests, and not only do they eat, swallow, partially digest
You love
seeds,
using the word poo, right?
the positive power of poo has to come into elephants are fertilising the forests and giving the seeds of many of the forest trees a new start in life in a packet of fertiliser, their dung, which decomposes into manure, and that fertilises the forests. And what the forested countries of Africa are realising, that they have a huge natural capital that the world has benefited from for millennia, but has never paid for. And what Ralph Sharmy, the economist whose calculations came up with the idea that each forest elephant might be worth millions of dollars over the course of his or her lifetime if they're left to do their natural thing in the forest, his concept is of a new economic paradigm, values in commercial terms living nature, rather than the old economic paradigm, which is it's only worth something if you cut it down. Cut the tree down, shoot the elephant, and you can sell the bits of wood or ivory.
And again, as you say, there are those of us who absolutely love animals, and for years, I can't even look at some of the sort of footage of elephants being killed for their tusks, and it's horrendous. But all of a sudden, there's, people operate in kind of like, right, this is commercial, this is actually better commercially, it's better if they're alive.
An elephant whose brain is 4 times the size of ours, who lives in a complex society, has capabilities of communication that we only recently discovered, speaking to each other using infrasound that travels through the ground. Extraordinary beings, people who care about animal welfare or even animal rights, the rights of non-human beings. That's their argument for protecting them. And as you observe, we've been banging on that particular drum for decades, and it hasn't stopped the overall decline. So what can we do to turn that around? Well, if a living elephant is worth 10 or 100 times more than a dead elephant, there's a good reason to keep them alive.
It's horrendous, but people who are doing this in a poor country, they've got to find a way to survive and feed their children, etc.
Organised criminal gangs feed off poverty.
It's horrendous.
Young men who are unemployed and want some money and haven't got any. So somebody comes into a village representing a criminal gang saying, look, we're going to kill some elephants, I need some manpower. Are you strong lads going to help? And they say, how much? And we'll pay you $50 a day for 10 days. Whoa, that's $500. It's a lot of money. But if they've already learned that every day the elephant is alive, he or she is earning money. How much? Well, it depends on the price of carbon. So when Ralph Sharma did his calculations in 2019, he worked out that each elephant over the course of her life is responsible for the additional sequestration of $1.75 million worth of carbon, which works out at $30,000 a year per elephant, or $80 a day per elephant. But the price of carbon has more than tripled since then. So are we thinking, what, $5 million or more per elephant? Just leave them alone to do what they do, and the world will pay for the additional sequestration.
And the Rebalance Earth model feeds that back to the communities.
And yes, Rebalance Earth is putting most of that money into community development, so there will be jobs. And if elephants raid people's crops and they've all said, oh, we haven't got any money to put up a fence, so we just lose and the government won't pay us, well, the Rebalance Earth model will say, no, there's community money available. Where you need to fence, you fence. Where you need an improved facility, instead of your kids walking miles through the forest to get to a school, you build a school in your village, because there is money on the table. And that's going to change things enormously. And that is fantastic. Because I know that your current activities centre around oceanic islands in the Caribbean and elsewhere. And that they're people, they're communities who are going to suffer as not only sea levels rise, but as extreme weather events become more common, more extreme.
Like the Cayman Islands. So as you know, as you say, I'm working with the Cayman Islands government, and being a low-lying island, the sea level rising is a big issue for them. And I think you were going to give us a story about.
There was a blue painted hotel on the beach. So I walked over to it, and it was deserted. I said, well, what happened here? I said, well, 6 months ago, you could have stayed here. Beach hotel, palm trees, beautiful sea. But 5 months ago, there was a storm surge, which just filled the hotel with sand. So literally, it broke several of the walls, and I climbed into the rooms full of sand. You're up next to the light fittings.
Wow.
It's eerie.
Yeah.
And for that family, it was a catastrophe. Little family-run hotel, they've lost everything. And that's going to be the story in more and more places, particularly in low-lying islands and coastal regions, where people who thought they had a really nice place to set up a business and have tourists come and stay and enjoy the beach, nature, the palm trees, they're going to be right at the forefront of the consequences of dangerous climate change. And that is a very worrying thought.
And I think there's a two-pronged approach here. There's the climate solutions, trying to find ways of bringing the carbon in the atmosphere down, but then there's the climate resilience piece, which is how do people who say, well, actually, this is now an issue, what are we going to have to do to combat that? I really wanted to get some thoughts, as I said, as we're going to lead up to COP 27 and sort of beyond. What do you think really needs to be done? And again, one of the things, if we go back again to our friendship and our working relationship, one of the things that I really valued was when we had the conversation with the former Lord Mayor of London, and you came to Mansion House and the two of you spoke. And something that I'm personally passionate about is trying to find ways of making different sides come to the table and understand each other's language. And I don't know what your thoughts are, but I still feel there's a little bit of that work to be done, because it's almost, and I saw this as something I went to recently, and you've got these very passionate startups who've got these solutions, amazing solutions of how to combat the crisis. And then you've got the private sector and you've got investment banks, and I still don't feel that they're talking the same language. How do we help facilitate that? What can we do?
Those of us who live in the developed world have, by accident or by design, distanced ourselves from nature. And I think that has led us to see nature. I mean, this is a lovely patch. I think the plants here, they are photosynthesizing, but essentially they're ornamental.
Yeah.
And what I fear is that the children grow up thinking that nature is ornamental, not the foundation of all life on Earth. And what animals do, and there's a new book just coming out called Wildlife in the Balance, which I say, and it's on the cover, possibly the most important book of our time, because it explains that animals play a really important role in bringing stability to ecosystems.
So it's education, it's getting that message out there and actually understanding the intricacies of the ecosystem. And thank you again for speaking recently when we had the migratory bird webinar with the Cayman Islands Government Office in the UK. I again learned so much, which I hadn't really thought about before, about the fact that these migratory birds, if they didn't have a stopover, the impact it would then have. So I think it is getting those kind of messages out there to people, that there's this interconnectivity, that the way that something as simple as like a bird flying from north to south, which you wouldn't really think, well, okay, if that palm tree that it visits every year isn't there, does it matter? Well, no, it does, because it affects, if it doesn't have a place to rest, there is a knock-on effect.
Yes, and talking is important, but so is doing.
Action.
And that's why it was exciting to hear some of the African countries say this must be Africa's action COP.
And that is such a powerful message too, because people, essentially, as sad as it is, will be thinking, well, how does this benefit us? And if this benefits people and the planet, well, then it's a win-win.
It's not climate and then we'll think about biodiversity. It has to be together, because it's managing the ecosystems on the planet. And by managing, it usually involves humans stepping back and let nature do
what nature does. Beautifully.
And that will probably work. Maybe a little bit of help from humans here or there to speed something up or to change the flow of water to benefit the ecosystem. But broadly speaking, humans stop it and let nature recover herself, and then we'll all be better off.
The world is now looking at these problems. This is top of everyone's agenda.
It's often about leadership, and we've got a new monarch on the throne. Young King Charles III has been saying for years many of the things which people used to tease him about, and now they're realising actually he had a point, and we should have been listening before. And if we catch up, then we might actually be in a better place in a few decades, rather than in the disastrous place which many of the current projections suggest we're going to be in. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about it. Let's hope some of the people listening, that's you and you, need to get involved, because we can't do this alone. It's not they've got to do something about climate, it has to be we